We're live.
We're back.
Back in action this Monday to talk about another ancient mystery in China.
Yes, it's fascinating. But let's say real quick, thank you to all of you that watched our previous video of Pumapunku and for all the comments. It really motivates us to continue to do this. Thank you very much. We really appreciate it.
Yeah.
All the input and the ideas. Thank you.
Yep. So today's mystery is about the Longyou Caves.
Correct.
And you actually brought this to my attention. I had never heard of this this place in China. So what makes this place unique in terms of the mystery behind it?
So it's in a village, okay? It's called Cheyenne Bicam village. I know I'm destroying it. Okay. Um, and what happened was that over the years, generations, people knew that there were these ponds. Okay, and they wanted to find out how deep they were. And they would get these long sticks and stick them in there, and they would never be able to touch the bottom. And it was just a mystery from all the villages over a series of generations, I think. And then this guy, his name is Wu Anai, one day decided, hey, listen, I'm going to figure out what's going on here. And the reason he got motivated to do this is because one day one of the villagers caught a fish that was very, very big. And this fish usually only inhabits very, very deep ocean waters.
Hmm.
Okay? And this was a huge fish that this villager got. And he says, well, why is he here? That means this thing's got to be deep. And then that's when this guy said, I'm going to get to the bottom of this. And he brought in all kinds of water pumping machines and this and that. And he started, and this was done June 9th of 1992. And
Okay.
it's just because one guy said, I'm done with this mystery. I got to figure it out. And that's beautiful because that's what we need to do to spark the attention in people and have them get out of their, because what do we call ourselves? Armchair fanatics, not even archaeologists. And
Yeah.
and he went over there and he did it. He pulled the trigger. Action, take action. That's the thing. And he found 24 caves,
Man-made caves.
man-made, yes, caves that nobody knew they were there. And the Chinese are meticulous for keeping records. The Chinese culture, for those of you that are interested, is tremendous. I mean, these people are incredible. The Indian culture, I mean, all these, they're just
Egyptian culture.
tremendous, tremendous, you know, and they go back hundreds and hundreds and thousands of years. Like I'm from Cuba, I can't say that, you know,
Right.
I'm in love with my culture, but we don't have these mysteries that have been handed down from hundreds and thousands of years like the Indian cultures, the Chinese cultures. These are, the Persians, it's tremendous,
Yeah.
right? And so he found 24 caves, and they are absolutely incredible. Incredible. And the theories again abound.
Yeah.
But let me be perfectly clear. We don't know who built them. We don't know when they were built. And we do not truly know the purpose. I've got an idea that I'll share later on in the video because we're gonna go, you know,
Yeah.
but it's all up in the air. What do you think?
Well, I gotta say, it was very difficult to find information on this topic and reliable information. For me, it was very difficult because there aren't that many like that I couldn't find that many articles about it. I tried to find good sources,
Yeah, yeah, reputable.
reputable. There were some that try to debunk this idea that it's an ancient and try to make it seem like it's a more modern thing. Why do they say that it's over 2,000 years old? The reason they say that is because they found clay pots in the silt
Mm-hmm.
of the caves that dated back to around 2,000 years ago. Actually, the date that I have was, let me see here. The date that I have was um 200, somewhere between 206 before BC, before Christ,
Mm-hmm.
to AD 23. They were glazed pots, clay pots that were recovered in the silt soils of the cavern floor. And this is based on the source is heritagedaily.com. But so, okay, so my mind goes to, it could be older just because they found, that's an interesting bird.
Oh no, there's a couple behind you.
Really?
I really need to get focused. They're fighting.
They're having it out.
They're having it out. There's like four birds behind you
That's funny.
having it out, and it's very interesting to see them fight. But gotta focus on the
So,
Longyou Caves.
it could be older than that just because the clay pots were from that time. But then, okay, the other side is, could somebody have put those pots there? Right?
Potentially.
Potentially.
Yeah.
Could they be, could these groats, they're called groats because they're man-made caves. So, um, that's one thing that,
So they're just absolutely fascinating. You know, they're an enigma, and if anybody tells you that they know concretely what for sure something,
mhm.
you need to question it because the Chinese are very sharp, and ever since they were discovered, you've got engineers and architects and archaeologists from different Chinese universities that have gone there. Not to speak of when they came up as a discovery, as a rediscovery.
Mhm.
There were archaeologists from all over the world. They flew out there and they were determined that they were going to find all kinds of answers. They were going to get down to don't worry about it. I'm going to figure it out. And I'm here to tell you, as an, what do you call it, an armchair fanatic, nobody has figured it out.
Yeah.
Nobody has
They're
truly,
theories, only theories.
bunch of theories all over the place. But look, there's 24 caves. Out of the 24 caves, it's my understanding only five of them are open to the public. And by the way, he does it, Mike does his own research, I do my own research, independent of each other. And then we come and we sit down and we discuss it. And we go to, by now we know what sites are reputable, what documents that are printed that have been verified and substantiated
I
by
mean, we
archaeologists.
try to do our best,
Yeah.
you know.
So, but that's the point. But, one of them has, you know, 98-foot tall ceilings, okay, and 11,000 square feet.
Massive. It's a huge.
One of them is massive,
Yeah.
and they look like they are in pristine condition.
Mhm.
They look like they could have been built the day before yesterday.
Right.
Now, one of the theories is because they were filled with water, that the water had a conserving type of effect on them.
Hmm.
Okay. And so, I mean, they have stairs also.
Because they were ponds, right? There,
Yes.
it wasn't like flowing water that would erode.
No, what
The,
happens is that it all these caves, they have one thing in common. They have only one entrance. And that entrance gets filled up when it rains, you know? So the caves were found filled with water and water had to be pumped out. And again, only five of them are totally excavated. And then the rest of them are full with water. And the entire area is very, very interesting. And if you look at pictures from the outside of the cave, the openings have been encroached by years and years of deposit of dirt and uh, shrubbery that has grown. So a person like me that has no knowledge of archaeology whatsoever, okay? But I have a lot of common sense, let's say. Common sense. Let's say I have common sense. You're talking about years and years of deposits of all that dirt and fauna and growth and trees and shrubbery that I, from some of the pictures that I was able to ascertain, we're talking about maybe 30 to 40 feet of deposits. You guys double check that. But, that would imply that these things are older than dirt, you know?
Mm.
And they're just, you have one opening and it goes to a vertical shaft and then there's stairs. And the stairs are very, very steep, like if they were built for very tall people, okay? Very tall people. And it's confirmed. Now, one of the things that is a little dubious out there, and I've been able to research again from some of the um, archaeologists in the area, some people say that the caves are interconnected. And from everything that I've read and researched and found out, they are not. So you guys prove me wrong. The caves are not interconnected, which means that the people that were building these caves were doing it independent of each other. That's 24 caves, okay? And the engineering and architectural progress, that the knowledge that they needed to know, is absolutely mind-boggling. So the caves are not interconnected as far as we know.
Mm.
So a lot of people out there say they are. I'm here saying that they are not, you know?
One thing that I think adds to the mystery is that, like you mentioned earlier, is that there's no one who has claimed or no historical record of these caves.
No,
Because, like in other places, Kailasa Temple or Borobudur, there's someone who somehow, or even the pyramids, right? The Khufu, right? You have somebody who claims to have either built it or done work to it or whatever. Apparently, these caves, there's
nobody knew about it.
no record. Not even the local villagers.
Right. And, the Chinese are tremendous for keeping records. And one of the common sites that they compare it to is the Terracotta Army.
Mm.
You know, they found the Terracotta Army, and then um, they found certain things that led them to investigate here, there, and whatever, and they were able to place it to the first emperor of China. So when they found it, they were in awe, but they found records that allude to the first emperor of China.
Mm.
So, but this silch,
Right.
complete silence, nobody knows anything about it. Okay. And it has one entrance, they're not connected. And the other thing is that, listen to this, 1 million cubic meters of stone was removed, and we don't see that stone anywhere. And to give everybody a kind of perspective of how much that is, you can go to Egypt and look at the big pyramid of Egypt, the large pyramid of Egypt, and cut it in half, and that's the amount of stone that has been removed. It is,
It's over 350,000 tons of
yeah,
rock. Um, and it's 350 tons of rock. How much is a ton? How many,
it's it's
for, let's say,
it's
in
1
pounds?
million cubic meters of stone.
Yeah,
It's
but a ton is how many pounds?
2,000 pounds.
Okay, so 350,000 tons has been removed.
Imagine that.
More than that,
That's 300 million times two, times 2,000.
2,200 pounds.
It's crazy.
That's
Where is
so
it?
that's another thing that
Where did it go?
Yeah, and I'll link some of the sources that I came across, but one of them was Discovery, which I think it's a reliable source, Discovery UK. They were saying there was no trace of any of this sandstone because it's sandstone. There's no trace of any of it. So where did those 350,000 tons of sandstone go? What were they, where's the debris?
Nowhere to be found.
Yeah.
The other thing that's interesting is there's only one entrance, and the entrance to them are usually narrow. Okay. So you have dimming light as you keep going in. So they actually either worked in the dark, okay, or they had some type of electrical power lighting that they were able to, okay, because again, the Chinese archaeologists and engineers have gone out there and they've tried to see if they can use mirrors to bring in the outside light, bounce mirrors off each other and this and that, and there are a lot of blind spots.
Hmm.
So they would not, that they immediately discounted that. And so there are,
What was their source of light to do
and
the
it
work?
wasn't torches, because torches leave, like, soot marks, and there are none. And so how did they get this work
How
done
did they
in the
see?
dark?
How did they see?
How did they get it done in the dark?
Because
So
it,
it's fascinating,
yeah,
man. I mean, the more it's it's like Pumapunku. The more you look into it, but this is
because you look at it
absolute.
and it looks modern.
It,
It looks like a almost like a hotel, like a very fancy modern hotel that was carved somehow into a rock or something like that. That's
it's
what
in,
it looks like.
it's incredible, man. It is absolutely incredible. We'll put some pictures up, and so there's a lot of theories, but one that I'll allude to is the fact that the entrance is narrow, so it um they're talking about water conservation because they were actually filled with water. So it limits the amount of evaporation.
Mm,
And as you keep going deeper and deeper, um, it's more of a comfortable temperature, a cooler
cooler,
type of temperature.
less evaporation.
Yeah. So, and these guys have found um, at the bottom gutters and pools and bridges, which means that whoever built it had an advanced knowledge of water conservation and hydraulics. I mean, they knew um, how to funnel the water in certain areas. Okay, so these people were no dummies. They were sharp. Okay. And one thing that's interesting that I found, and this I haven't found anywhere else. Um, I went through a bunch of, like I say, we go to different sites and so forth. Um, the caves have something else in common, which they have four parallel walls, okay? But the shortest wall in all of them is at a 45-degree incline, okay? And apparently, that is intentionally done so that the columns are at an angle and provide more support than any other normal column would at a different angle. So they've done computer simulations and they are astounded by the amount of what the figures that the computer simulation gives the engineers of the level of support that each column can take.
Hmm.
I don't remember this exactly. You guys look it up, but it's over 3,000 tons of support or something like this. And they you have, because a lot of caves throughout the world have the ceilings have caved in. These things are immaculate,
Standing strong.
standing strong. Now, some people say that the reason that it's standing strong is because they were also filled with water,
Hmm.
and the water helped keep the pressure on the walls from caving in and so forth. And there might be something to that.
Now,
it's in it's it's absolutely fascinating.
Yeah, I was trying to see if I could find how much weight, because I did come across that, how much weight each pillar can hold. But
I think the computer simulations said that it was close to 3,000 tons of support. I
now,
mean, it's incredible, Mike. I mean,
another thing that I thought was interesting here is that the caverns are aligned along a south to southwest orientation,
okay.
which is supposed to maximize the use of sunlight to illuminate the interior, with inclined sidewalls that reduce the stress on the cave ceilings, preventing collapse. So that's exactly what you're referring to, the inclined sidewalls. But the positioning allows for the best use of sunlight. But still, I don't think it illuminates the whole cavern, the whole
No, it does not.
cave.
It does not. And see, the other thing is this. So I went into some of the details on each one of the caves. I think that's a lot to do in this podcast, but the information is out there. Um,
The
each
first five caves.
yeah, the first like the first cave is the smallest one with 365 square meters. Um, but that particular case has a stone carving of a horse, a bird, and a fish. And that has created all kinds of controversy and questions and everything, and nobody knows. Okay. Um,
One idea is the carvings were done later, but
cor-
we don't know.
but we don't know. The second cave has massive columns that end in fish tails, which is
34 columns.
34 columns, which end in fish tails, which is part of the structural support, the beauty of it. And, the engineers are in awe.
What's a
Okay.
fish tail?
They come down like this.
Oh, I see.
Okay.
Oh, instead of just
Instead, it's just
like
straight.
a square, a
Right.
rectangle
So,
at a curve.
yeah, when you want to construct something or whatever and you come to a weight-bearing wall, you have to distribute, if you want to move that, you're going to have to distribute that weight somehow. And you're either going to have to get either a longer beam and supports on the side, like whatever. So by having it as fishtail, you know, it
Distributes that.
distributes that load like evenly when it comes down. It doesn't, so it's better than just,
Interesting.
yeah, it's these guys were something else. These as they did the excavation, they find out that um, the caves align perfectly with the natural layers of the cave itself, the excavation. So these guys knew what they were doing, okay? Like for example,
You're talking about with the layers of what, the rock?
of the rocks.
So I didn't, I read that and I didn't understand that.
So if you're going to build something, I'm not a builder, but here's my 2 cents. So let's say you have a piece of wood. You find out where the bent of the wood is, and you use that bent to your advantage.
Mm,
So if you have a wood that bends like this, you're not gonna, even though you have a straight wood, but you see the knuckles in it or the birthmarks in it, right? I'm not a builder. Then you would not put that wood face down like this. You would use it the other way.
I see.
Preferably, you get a wood that doesn't have that, okay? But you would use it in the other direction. So these guys um,
They use the
use the
layers.
natural layers of the cave to cut into it and
Hmm.
use the strength of the cave into their building.
Wow.
So these are not, you know, I'm gonna go in there and just make a hole in the wall. No, these guys knew what they were talking about. Okay, and it's just extremely interesting. Um, and they have no idea why they did them. Now, there's a bunch of theories out there. Okay,
Hmm.
one of the theories, there's a lot of theories out there. Some people say that it was done to keep storage. Some people say that uh, the Chinese governor of that area, did it to store his
Armies.
armies in the time of war. a lot of them. Okay, the one theory that I like a lot is that they were built as cisterns. Okay, but if they were built as cisterns, why do they have stairs?
What
Right,
would be a cistern? Like
to
a,
keep water,
oh, I see.
to keep water for the masses.
Hmm.
You know,
Like wells.
yeah, drinking water, because they're built with a narrow entrance and then they fan out. So, it would make sense, you get the water, the rainwater,
Hmm.
and then you have a cistern there, and you can use that for irrigation. You can use it for, to plant, rice fields, whatever it is, and you feed your masses. You have a storage of water. Water is
Interesting. Like
exceedingly.
water tanks.
Yeah, yeah. And if you look, cisterns are a very important thing in our histories because you look back to the Romans, they had cisterns, and you look back um, in the Byzantine era, and you need water storage
Hmm.
to feed your troops, to feed your population, your people, your masses. Especially they come in handy when there's a drought. So the idea of being a cistern is the one that I like.
Mm.
But some of these Chinese civil engineers and so forth have come up with um proof that, or ideas that say no, 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 it couldn't be, and they give a good rebuttal to it. But nevertheless, this is absolutely incredible. The pictures are
The pictures are
tremendous.
amazing.
The
Yeah.
columns are not that thick. Okay, they're relatively thin for the amount of weight that they're supporting, and like I said, there's only five of them open to the public.
Hmm.
Each one of the fives have very like, for example, cave number 3 has three geometric columns placed strategically, okay, within the cave to give it the support that it has. Okay. um
What about the artwork on the pillars and on the walls? What are your thoughts on the,
it's fantastic. It's absolutely incredible.
some of them were talking about like some mythology.
Correct.
Um,
Yeah, so that's a dragon. So on cave number 5, okay, um, they have three, again, fishtail pillars,
hmm.
right? Um, and they've used again on cave number 5 modern computer simulations, and the benefits of that are immense. But it's more for the field of engineering and architecture.
Hmm.
We're here to discuss the mystery of it all, right? Um, and on one of the pillars, there's a carving of a dragon and animals and humans. The one thing that I find interesting is that the dragon that has been carved in that pillar, the head of the dragon is going into the ground.
Hmm.
I have never seen a dragon with his head, or her head, the
So you don't
drag
see the head of the dragon?
going into the ground.
Huh.
Now, why? Why would someone go through the trouble, okay, on cave number 5, to carve a dragon with the head going into the ground? Could that mean that there's another cave before, underneath that? Why is that dragon going, into the ground? Is there something else below there that we don't know about? We
Hmm.
could certainly use LiDAR, right? If not carved. So the integrity of the caves must be protected.
Yeah.
In fact, the Chinese government has had to prop up the ceiling on a couple of them because when they took the water away, they were concerned about the integrity
Mm.
not being there long term, and they have turned this into a beautiful tourist attraction.
Yeah.
And it's just absolutely beautiful to go, and it's mind-boggling. And I love to go,
Yeah.
you know. Um,
Yeah.
but the caves are incredible, incredible. They're just
They look
something.
beautiful.
They look beautiful. They look like they've just been recently, you know, made. And see, it it says that the people who built this, okay, they had knowledge. They put a network of drainage and grooves and channels at the base of the caves. And they also put what's called a water catch system. So they had knowledge of drainage, which is extremely important because if you don't have drainage, then you have water standing still, and that destroys temples and destroys roofs, destroys, you can't, you must have the water flow out somehow.
Hmm.
Mother Nature drops it on us. We need to devise a drainage system to be able to
Distribute it.
distribute the water out, because if you have standing water, first of all, it weighs a ton. So that's where you have your cave-ins. And water is going to do a lot of damage to wherever it is. So these people had knowledge about drainage, water management, and hydrology. No doubt about it. Okay? How did they do it? Why did they do it? Was it really to have water there so that they could plant all kinds of food and feed their subjects and
Hmm.
their armies? That's the theory I like best. There's another theory that the Anunnaki came in and gave it to them, and gave them the information and this and that. And another extremely um, bizarre and unexplainable fact about each and every cave is that there are the groove lines that you were talking about. They're on the walls. You know why? Why did they do that? You were talking about that in the beginning of our video, where they have these groove lines on the walls, right? Why did they do that? Why was that necessary?
Hmm. Yeah, another theory I came across was that it could have been used as like a quarry. Um, we don't know.
We
There's
don't
no
know.
record
We don't know, but we can get on a plane and go over there and visit it.
because I did see one that quarries I guess leave behind some groove lines. Now I don't know enough. Um,
Incredible. Look at that.
I don't know enough, but maybe somehow they were using it as yeah, quarry. I don't know, but I gotta tell you, it was difficult to get good information on this. You got a lot of good information, but there's just a lot of theories, you know?
And cave number two, like you said, has 34 massive columns.
Yeah.
You guys know how hard it is to build a column?
No, I don't. I don't know how hard that
I
is.
mean, it is extremely difficult.
They carved it out.
And there's 24 caves. It's not just one or two or three. Five of them are open to the public, but there's 24 of them.
It's crazy.
And the rest are have not been pumped out. We have no idea what's in them. And it's just fascinating to let your mind fly away and think, hey, what on earth could be down there?
An estimate suggested 1,000 people working day and night would have taken 6 years to complete the project. 1,000 people working day and night would have taken 6 years to complete. Not a single piece of rock has been found in the local area, nor a single tool or a shred of conclusive and evidence anyone was ever there. This is Discovery UK.
And the thing is that, again, the Chinese civilization is absolutely amazing, right? And they are notorious for record keeping. Okay?
Hmm.
They kept records of ballet and dances and music, and you know and I would say that's the least important. And they kept records of their wars and this and that. Notorious. There's absolutely Nothing written about these caves
Wow.
anywhere that they can find. Which, for a guy like me, let's say that I have some common sense, I'm thinking, hey, they didn't know about it. They didn't know about it. They didn't know those caves were there.
Mm.
Okay? That's what I'm thinking. And it
But
took one man to say, you know what, enough of this. I'm
yeah.
gonna.
Well, somebody knew because the carvings. So
Oh,
eventually they got to it.
oh yeah, but I'm I'm thinking, and I could be wrong. What do I know, right? What do I know about anything? But I'm thinking this thing is very, very old.
Hmm.
It looks really pristine, okay? But I think this is very, very old. Because if it wasn't, the Chinese would keep record of it.
What about the carvings?
The car, well, you
Were the
know,
carvings done at the time it was built, or you think it was done later?
I think there's there's a theory, and it all depends how in depth you want to get into but there's cave number 5 also has carvings that allude to the eight immortals, and the eight immortals is not that old of a
Mythology.
mythology. So some people that, and then you're getting really deep into this, you need to read hundreds of pages, but my take, my 2 cents, and you know, it's just my opinion, folks, right? And I haven't gone to the site. I can't speak with any authority because I haven't seen it, but I think that that was done later, okay? And I think that these things are very, very old. And I think that the integrity of the caves have been preserved because of the fact that they were filled with water. And the fact that the Chinese government has gone in and put supports once they, you know, took out the water, because they're in fear that as time goes on, the integrity of the caves may not withstand, right?
Hmm.
So they've put supports, and you can see in some pictures the metal supports that the Chinese government has put in.
Yeah.
Okay, so you know, it's just fascinating. It's another one of these mysteries that we just don't know.
Yeah. So
We
you
just,
think the carvings came later?
I think,
If it weren't for those clay pots, we would think it's more modern.
right.
So the clay pots throw us back 2,000 years ago.
Yeah, that carving of horse, bird, and fish,
Hmm.
I don't think that was put in later. Okay, because that's carved into the stone, but so are the others. So, it's more questions than answers,
Yeah.
Mike. More questions than
More
answers.
questions than answers for sure.
No
For
doubt about it.
me, I'm left with more questions.
Oh, and now that you know about it, because this is the way life is, folks. Now that you know about it, you're going to run into stuff
Yeah.
that talks about it. And if not, if you had done some research on your phone, what is it? The bio, whatever, not the
Oh,
biorhythms.
algorithm.
The algorithms are going to send you a ton of stuff, and
And
you
it
need to choose what
source.
source is reputable or
Yeah.
not. Because there's a lot of people out there, we question everything. We're just asking questions,
Yeah.
but we provide some information based on very reliable sources that
We're trying
we
to.
yeah.
Um, the I lost my train of thought.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But they're incredible.
You were talking about the algorithm. We were talking about, oh, what I was gonna say is it was only rediscovered in 92, 1992. That's not that long ago.
No, no. And,
33 years ago.
and see, why was it rediscovered? Because of the curiosity.
Yeah.
Who is it that says, I think it's Robert Greene, right? On one of our books reviews, he says, try to keep your curiosity alive as you live your life through. It doesn't
Hmm.
matter if you're in your 60s, 70s, 80s, keep that curiosity alive, and that will fulfill and enrich your life,
Yeah.
right? This guy was curious about it. This Anai guy, Wu Anai, and you know, and then the one of his buddies fishes out this huge fish, right? That it's supposed to live in deep, deep waters. And he said, I've had enough. There was an interview where he says, I had enough of it. I just had to figure it out.
Wow.
And he put his money where his mouth was and he spent the money and brought in all kinds of pumps. And then what they say is that they were expecting something astounding,
Yeah.
but they weren't expecting this.
No way.
No. And so, keep your curiosity alive and go out there. Like the gentleman that made the comments on Pumapunku about Angkor Wat,
Hmm.
that he's, by the way, thank you very much, sir. That was very, very nice. He says, I'm determined to find out about Angkor Wat.
Right.
We need guys like that and ladies like that
Hmm.
that'll go out in the field and won't take no for an answer and discover all these things that
Which, for those that are interested, we did a podcast on Angkor Wat
that's right
in Cambodia,
in Cambodia. And that's another,
the hydraulic city.
the hydraulic city. I mean, that's another mystery. Don't tell me.
How did they do it?
Yeah, yeah,
See, but that one has a myth tied to it.
it does.
This one doesn't. This
Well,
one,
because there's a history. Well, there's some literature about it
right.
because supposedly some Chinese consulman or politician went to visit, but I don't think the proper credit is being given to Angkor Wat. That thing was built more thousands of years before, I think, right? And so our friend in Cambodia can go and search that mystery out.
Anything else
Um,
you want to throw in?
no, no, this is
More questions than answers.
oh, I was fascinated with it. So,
Cool.
all right,
Thank you so much.
thank you.